There can be so many symptoms when it comes to MS because it can attack any part of our central nervous system at any time. But for me, the worst symptom is fear. When the doctors first said it may be multiple sclerosis, I immediately went into panic mode. What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my family? Will I become disabled? Will I lose my ability to work? Will I become a burden? Will I lose my ability to think? What will the financial impact be on me and my family? What if I'm not strong enough to be an MS warrior? Did you have any of these kinds of questions? Let me know in the comments below. So yes, my worst MS symptom is fear. And honestly, it still bothers me from time to time. Fear of what might happen, fear of the unknown. At first, it felt like a life sentence, that I was doomed to a life of decline and disability. But shortly after that, fear became a motivator for me. I said to myself, I need to do something about this. So I started to take action. I've learned a lot over the years to help me cope with the fear, and today I'm going to share some of what I've learned, and I'm going to put it together in a tip sheet for you if you'd like to download it. The first thing I did was to become educated. I know, a lot of people tell you, don't research MS, stay away from the Google. I'm not one of those people. I believe knowledge is power. The key is to learn the facts and not go down the rabbit hole of worst case scenarios. Instead, go down the path of best case scenarios. Here's a few fun facts about MS from Brigham MS Center in Boston. 15 to 25% of patients may eventually need to use a wheelchair because of walking difficulty. This data was taken from patients who were not treated with disease-modifying agents. So another way to look at that is 75 to 85% of people with MS do not need a wheelchair, and that's without treatment. Those are pretty good odds. Next fun fact. There are now over 24 MS drugs that may reduce relapse rates anywhere from 29 to 68%, depending on drug class. And just over 30 years ago, there were no drugs to treat MS. Zero. Nothing that could help us. We live in amazing times. Fun fact number 3. We can help slow the progression of MS. Using disease-modifying therapies as prescribed, along with lifestyle strategies like eating a nutritious and balanced diet and getting regular physical activity, may help slow disease progression in people with MS. We now know that there are diet and lifestyle changes that we can use to help slow our progression. How cool is that? I've also been taking courses and classes over the years to help me become more educated on how to best make those diet and lifestyle changes to support my body to be as healthy as possible. So that's tip 1. Get the facts and get educated. The second thing I do to help ease my fears is to focus on what I can control. If you're new to my channel, first, hi, thanks for watching. And you're going to hear me say a lot that there are 4 things I do in addition to my DMT to help me manage my MS symptoms. I eat a predominantly whole food, plant-based diet, exercise regularly, try to get good sleep, and practice mindfulness to reduce stress. All of these are things that I do every day to help me feel in control and to help keep those fears at bay. Next is to take one day at a time. Part of being mindful is living in the present and focusing on now and how healthy I am now. When I was first diagnosed, I was so worried and fearful of the future that I spent all of my time there. I was worrying about what might happen. I was missing out on how wonderful life is right now and all that I can do right now. It took me some time to get there, though. I've been seeing my therapist for years, and she continues to help me when my old fears sneak back in. So that's another tip. Get help with mental health. It is freaking hard living with MS or chronic illness. Getting help with our mental health is just as important as getting help with our physical health. I also took an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction class based on the teachings of Jon Kabat-Zinn that was really helpful in teaching me how to be present. The next thing I did to help with my fears was to shift my perspective. I was completely overwhelmed at first with the possible negative outcomes. And honestly, the pressure I felt to be an MS warrior. I felt like so many people were telling me I was going to beat this and that I was a warrior. It came from the medical community, others with MS, my friends, my family, and complete random strangers. I was totally not a warrior. I was a worrier. I had to learn to let go of the expectation of others and their views on how I should be living with my MS. I remember at one point I was working with a trainer at a gym and he kept calling me a warrior. It made me so uncomfortable. It took me some time to figure out why, but I eventually figured it out. My MS is part of me. My immune system is confused and mistakenly attacking my own nerves. I'm not at battle with my own immune system. I want to help it. I want to support it. I want to give it the best input I can to help it not be confused and not attack my nerves. So I had this shift in perspective. No, I'm not an MS warrior. I'm an MS thriver. I celebrate every choice I make to support my health and my well-being. Next is to remember that I'm more than MS. My life is so full. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, an entrepreneur, a friend, a singer, a gardener, a volunteer. I'm so much more than MS. My goal is to make MS the least interesting thing about me. It will always be a part of my life, but I'm going to keep focusing on and doing the things that I love doing, the things that bring me joy. The next thing on my list is practicing self-compassion. Saying to myself, it's okay. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to rest. It's okay to say no. And it's okay to have some times where I am fearful. It's okay to have my emotions. I just don't live in fear every day. And under the umbrella of self-compassion is letting go of guilt. I shared in another video recently this: I'm not the burden. MS is the burden. Everyone I love is sharing its challenges with me. The next thing that I had to learn to let go of is the what ifs. The what ifs can sometimes get in the way of living life fully. What if I get too hot? What if I get fatigued? What if I can't keep up? What if I have a flare of symptoms? These what ifs sometimes kept me from participating. They made my world smaller. I started to feel isolated. When we feel separated or cut off from others, it can be very depressing. When I was fearful of doing activities that may flare my symptoms, it limited what I would do. I was afraid of pushing myself. But you know what? When I did push myself, I found out that, sometimes my symptoms did flare a bit, but they subsided. And I found out that when I tried, I found I was able to do more than I thought I could. Letting go of some of these fears made my world bigger. Fear is a normal emotion that can actually be helpful. It's part of our self-preservation as humans. When we have a fear response, our bodies get ready for fight or flight. It sends chemical messengers. It's our body's way of dealing with a dangerous situation. But here's the thing. This can happen even when we're not in danger. If we think something bad may happen, if we're fearful of the possibility of maybe getting worse, or maybe our symptoms flaring, our bodies send those chemical messengers anyway. And when we have this fight or flight reaction, it can affect our immune system. It can make us more susceptible to illness and make it harder to recover from illness. It can make our symptoms flare. It can have a really negative effect on our lives. When I let go of my fears, I find I can be more open to living my best life. I have retrained my brain to look at the situation differently, to look at MS differently. Yes, I still have symptoms daily. Yes, it's still incurable. Yes, it may progress in the future, but I now focus on taking control of the things that I can to support my body to be as healthy as it can. I can use medications to slow down the progression. I can choose to support my body with the most nutrient-dense foods I can find. I can move my body purposefully every day. I can have good sleep hygiene habits to ensure I get the rest that I need. I can engage in activities to manage stress, like talking with my therapist and practicing mindfulness and meditation daily. I don't let fear take over anymore. Do you have tips to help deal with the fear? I'd love to see them. Please put them in the comments below. To get your free handout of these tips, see the link in the comments and in the description below. To see more on living well with MS and chronic illness, watch these videos next. And until next time, be well.